Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. I'm joined with our grandson, Alex Croft, who is currently on our Alaska and Canadian adventure of 2024, along with his little pup here, Cooper. So, Alex, thanks for joining me.
It's good to be here, Papa.
Absolutely. So this is the second time Alex has been on our show. First time was between your junior and senior year of high school.
I believe so, yeah.
So a couple years have passed.
Yeah.
You now graduated in 2023. And here you are in Alaska a little over a year after your graduation from high school.
Yep.
So, it's kind of funny, the title of the podcast and, everything we do is the journey of my mother's son. But, ironically, you're traveling much more like my mother did than what we are. Unfortunately, she had passed a few months before you came around.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about, what your feelings were like before, embarking on that first leg of roughly 2,200 miles by, just yourself and Cooper to meet the rest of the group in Great Falls. I know you did a couple weekend solo trips here and there to Jersey and some spots like that, but certainly nothing like 2,200 miles, and I'm not sure how many states it was, 5, 6, 7, 8,
yeah.
somewhere in that neighborhood. So, leading up to, actually getting behind the wheel, what were some of those feelings like?
Yeah. So, definitely the weeks leading up was a very nerve-wracking few weeks, between getting the Jeep set up, making sure I had everything ready to go, everything for Cooper. It was just a lot of going over my notes and planning and making sure I had everything down pat. I had done some solo trips here and there. Farthest I went was Virginia, but that was with family, and so I felt ready to a sense, and I'm a very adaptable person. So it was quite a I wouldn't say it was a very hard transition into it, but definitely very nerve-wracking to start. I remember saying to Cooper when we pulled out that day, I had left from my girlfriend's house. I just remember it blew my mind that we were actually driving down the road, not heading towards home, but heading away from home, and knowing that my destination was, you said 22,000 miles away.
2,200.
2,200.
That would be a real road trip, 22,000.
That would be 2,200 miles away. So, yeah, it was quite nerve-wracking leaving up. But after that first night, I really just fell right into it, right into the groove there. And once I crossed the Pennsylvania border into Ohio, it just really started to sink in. Things started moving smoothly and getting used to new routines. Obviously, staying in a Jeep, things aren't quite as normal as they were prior. So, things started to fall into line pretty well after that.
Yeah. That's cool. So, you said after that first night, kind of became a little bit more comfortable, but that first night when you're laying down, and it would kind of sunk in, I really did this. I'm now, 3-4 hours from home. I've got, 27, 28 hours of road in front of me.
Yeah.
What was that?
That first night was pretty wild. My first night I had boondocked in a state park, Laurel Mountain State Park, and it was deep in the woods, just in a little grassy opening out in the woods, and I'm seeing signs for bears and this and that, and it was nighttime by the time I got there, so I'm setting up at night. So I remember that was a pretty kind of another nerve-wracking night, just kind of like
Surreal,
yeah, surreal,
maybe?
yeah. And I remember just laying down after I'd gotten all set up, dinner cooked and everything, and yeah, just a little more just sinking in, laying here in the back of my Jeep in the middle of the woods in western Pennsylvania, on my way to Montana. And yeah, that was just more like, wow, this is really like, we're really here. It's me, it's my dog, nobody else. And so, yeah, it's really started to sink in after that.
Yeah, very cool. So, yeah, I know we were checking in with you, on a daily basis as you were heading out. I'm sure your mom was checking in with you probably every 15 minutes.
On an hourly basis, yeah.
But, I guess for you, this was really kind of a journey of independence as well. Like that especially that first leg till you got with the group. And you ended up, turning 19 on this trip, so just tell me what that kind of evolution was for you, knowing that, you are truly on your own.
Yeah. Well, I've always been quite an independent person, but definitely like leaving, not having anybody to depend on. I can depend on myself. My dog depends on me now. So that was
For anybody who's not watching the video and sees and hears the bouncing and chomping, that is the
Cooper.
dog in the background having his say into the podcast as well. So
Yeah, so it was definitely just learn. Like I remember realizing along the way things I'd forgotten, and new things that make sure I'm getting up on time and doing and driving and making sure I'm on task, and a lot of things that I'm pretty good with, but definitely weird being in charge of that myself for the most part. And yeah, just the independence factor of making sure I have all the supplies I need, and all the keeping in touch with the people I need to, and it's just eye-opening that it's all on me now.
yeah, and that's, obviously over the past couple of years, me and your grandmother have been ones who've encouraged you to kind of find a different way of living your life, opposed to from what society will tell you, as far as jumping in and going to a 4-year school and taking on all that debt and all that fun stuff that most kids your age are headed down
Right into
that road. So for us, it's awesome that you did this, and I mean, we love having you on the trip for sure. So once you got to Montana, and again, you're going into this trip, obviously you know us, but then there's these other, when we first started, 8 strangers, all much older than you. What was that kind of anticipation like, as far as meeting this group of senior citizens?
Yeah. Well, honestly, it clicked in a lot sooner than I thought it would. I've always been one to get along with people not in my age range. I've never been quite like my own age group. I've always been a little more settled down. I've been called an old soul a lot. So I did click in, and just meeting everybody, getting to hear their stories and how they came to be on this journey. I know a lot of you actually started your travels around the same time, a lot around that 2020 range, and it's just fascinating to hear their stories and get to interact with them. And I've learned a lot already from Eric and Gary and everybody, and the experiences that have come across with everything that everybody brings to the table here. So it was definitely it clicked in a lot sooner than I thought it would, because I'm usually a pretty shy person, but I think, these are my people, kind of, in a sense. And even though I'm much younger, definitely my people is this kind of people.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and I think, and I told you this before you started, is that you would gain a wealth of knowledge from the group of people, from, what Stan and John and Gary and Eric, and then, Jenny and Jan and Karen, Naomi, all of them have their own life experiences that they were more than happy to share with you, because they kind of, they all kind of took you under their wing,
Yes, yeah.
And I loved seeing the interaction of how they were willing to, jump in and give you some advice and talk about how they, what led them to their journey, and Stan having a landscaping business for so many years, and unfortunately he was only with us on the trip for the first week, I guess. But I know you guys were sharing stories and stuff like that, and I said, this is probably going to teach you more on this trip than any classroom.
Oh, for
would,
sure. I think I've learned 10 times more than I could have learned in a classroom.
Yeah.
Just in the, what was it, 2 months now, 2.5, just about.
Yeah. So, we talked about, you're definitely an old soul. You have a different outlook than a lot of kids your age. But has there been anything specific on this trip that has changed your outlook even more?
Well, definitely that there are plenty of options out there. I've always been very kind of nervous to jump on anything. I'm a very ambitious person, for sure. I find a new something to chase every week almost, but it's always just that factor of like, where do I start? And just kind of learning. Our tour guide on the glacier hike we went on, he was only 25, and he had graduated school and went right to work in national parks doing glaciology. And he just went out and started. And so the people I've met who have also told me, like, you're 18, now 19, and on this trip, that's absolutely amazing. And I'm hearing a lot of people that, like, it's good you didn't just jump right into something. So yeah, definitely the opportunity that surrounds me is something that has opened my eyes as this trip has progressed.
Yeah. And it's one thing, what you're receiving from the group directly, but you're also receiving a lot of knowledge just from people that we've met.
Oh yeah.
Sitting around a campfire at, Sourdough Campground, or, walking through the farmer's market. So did that part surprise you? Like how many people outside of our, tribe, so to speak, you would be interacting with? And because you say you're kind of a shy person, so, and I tell people all the time, I really am an introvert, but one of the things that traveling full time has done for me has gotten me out of that shell, and I don't feel awkward just talking to a person that just walked up to me and, sharing my story or hearing their story. So, has that part surprised you?
That has, and that started in North Dakota when I was driving through, there was a town on the eastern side. Jamestown, I think it was, and I'd stopped into a building, and it was early in the morning. There was a lady there, and she just, typical, asked me, "Hey, where are you coming from?" I was like, "I'm from Pennsylvania, and I'm heading to Montana." And, I told her I'm only 18, and she's like asking me, like, "Wow, that's crazy. You're far from home, just you." And she could hear Cooper barking in the Jeep, and asked about him. And I told her where we were heading, Alaska, and she was telling me these stories about how she had been to Alaska 2 or 3 times doing mission trips and volunteer, and how absolutely amazing it was, and the time she spent. I think she was in Juneau for a while, and a lot of the places we've been. And that really started because, like, immediately I was like, I wanted to listen to every single word she said and remember it, because, like, For one, like, she had experienced a whole lifetime before me, and these are amazing stories that I'm hearing from people. And yeah, it started hearing that from her, and walking away from that conversation, it just felt really, really like happy that I had stopped and walked into that store and asked her, and she asked me questions, and sitting there listening to her story, and it started there. And then yeah, as the trip progressed, I've done more stopping and asking people. A lot of Cooper is the best conversation starter I could ever have.
Dogs always are, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
So they'll ask, hey, what kind of dog is he? What kind of dog is yours? And where are you coming from? And oh, well, I've heard that you're from Florida and you're traveling up here to meet your daughter or something that's lived here. It's like all these stories that, I'd never hear if I never just asked about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely started with that one experience, and it's just, yes, it did surprise me a little bit, being a shy person that I am, but like you said, it's definitely as in the traveling community, you don't feel bad for asking somebody
Right.
who just walked up to you about their story.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool experience for sure. So, I mean, we've done and seen so much.
Oh yeah.
And anytime somebody asks, me or grandmother just about our travels, like what's your favorite spot, we can never nail it down. But I'm going to put you on the spot and see, like, of all the stuff you've done on this trip, from swimming in the Great Slave Lake at midnight in, Yellowknife, Northwest Territories,
Yeah,
to hiking a glacier, to going on a, boat to see whales and sea lions, like, what has been one of, and, I won't say the highlight, but what has been one of the highlights for you so far?
Oh man, pinpointing that is hard, definitely. Just turning a corner, seeing a new view everywhere we go. I can't really pinpoint one. It's all been a really amazing experience, and I would say traveling through Canada was one major highlight in just kind of getting used to different currencies and ways of life. And it's not too far off
Right.
from where we are, but still just learning a lot of their cultures, a lot of the native cultures where we're driving through. Is really, really, that I would say was probably, I think of this and I think of our time in Canada, and I'd say that was definitely, that section of the trip was a very highlighted part in my mind.
Yeah, and there's so many. So, I know you can't really answer that question, because even once you try to start listing them, then you come up with, another 5 that should be on the list, which is the awesome part about, the lifestyle. So, we'll start to wrap things up here a little bit. I'll probably have you on the show one more time as you're ready to embark on that final trip, solo back to Pennsylvania. But I know I asked you the final question of my podcast a couple years ago. I'm going to ask it again just to kind of see if it changed at all. But as you know, the subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People in Many Little Places, which comes from the opening lyrics of Michael Frante's song Gloria, which go, when many little people in many little places do many little things and the whole world changes. So what's one of the little things that Alex does on a daily basis to make the world a little bit better place?
I think my answer the first time was kindness, which is something that I still stand by every day. I think I had said, you walk by a person, you never really know what they're going through. And I'd say that's still something that's progressed as time goes. Sometimes you just gotta smile at somebody, you just gotta, you see somebody doing something that looks like they need help. I remember we're at one campground, and there was a lady walking down the steps. She was an older lady, and at first I looked at her and I started walking away, and then I stopped and I was like, she could use a hand. So I turned around and I went and I held out my hand, and she was as grateful as could be that I had stopped and turned around.
Just helped her down the
And
stairs.
helped her down the stairs, yeah. So kindness, I not only does it make others feel good, it makes you feel good. Going around, it's just an all good thing, and there's really nothing that can beat it. So I stand by that every day.
Love it. I love it. Folks out there listening, be sure to check out my other podcasts and blogs at journeymymotherson.com. While you're there, check out the Pay It Forward program, and jump on that, buy a book, and we'll donate it to somebody in our travels. So, Alex, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Cooper quieted down here at the end, but he definitely had his say throughout the podcast as well. So, thanks again.
Yep.